emphasized that accountability is the heartbeat of democracy, and today we honor that sacred trust. While at it, I invite you today to see through the eyes of the Ghanaian soldier, to feel the heartbeat of our national security infrastructure, to walk with us on the silent paths we patrol, not for glory, but for Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, let us journey together into the heart of our defense story so far, safeguarding national security. It is with confidence and pride that I state that to a very large extent, Ghana is safe, stable, peaceful, and ready to experience a golden age under the reset agenda of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We have kept our nation safe and stable, notwithstanding the irregular transfer of thousands of rounds of military ammunition in 2024 from the Ghana Armed Forces to the National Security Outfit. Ammunitions which have since not been accounted for. The Ghana Armed Forces continues to ensure Ghana's territorial integrity through coordinated land, maritime, and air operations. While the overall internal and external security of Ghana remains stable, we acknowledge that the situation in Boko and Alavanyo and their immediate surroundings remain quite volatile. The Ghana Armed Forces is actively monitoring developments and have put in place robust mechanisms to ensure any potential escalation is swiftly contained in the interest of a peaceful and long-lasting resolution of the conflicts through dialogue. In doing so, we shall always separate crime from traditional matters, enabling us to deal appropriately and legally with criminals who foment trouble in the name of chieftaincy conflicts. Relatedly, let me assure once again that government has decided to take necessary steps to reconstruct the statue of the Zugura traditional area in Boko while investigation into the continues. To address emerging security threats such as and terrorism, as well as other transnational threats, the Ghana Army embarked on a multinational military exercise aimed at enhancing the capacity of participating troops from various countries. The Ghana Army, in collaboration with the United States Army, the Southern Eastern Task Force for Africa, and Special Operations Command Africa, ex-African Lion, exercise African Lion, in May 2025. Exercise African Lion was held in Ghana, Tunisia, Morocco, and Senegal, and Flintlock was held in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Overall, 94 troops of the Ghana Army participated in the exercises in Côte d'Ivoire, Tunisia, and Morocco. The Ghana Navy continues to play a crucial role in ensuring the safety and security of key national installations. Regular patrols are conducted to safeguard offshore oil and gas facilities, including the Jubilee oil field, Penn oil field, and Sankofa oil field. The patrols have successfully reduced new incursions. The Navy also undertakes riverine patrols to protect vital inland installations such as the Akosombo and Bui Dam to ensure power supply. The riverine patrols have also contributed to a reduction in accidents on various river bodies, minimizing the loss of lives and property, as well as helping traders to engage in their daily commercial activities. Keep in mind that these traders, a profession heavily dominated by women and making a significant contribution to the growth of our economy. The Ghana Navy has also enhanced its protection for the West Africa gas pipeline, guarding against theft and sabotage to ensure the supply of power. Within Ghana's ports, the Navy is currently providing enhanced security through robust anchorage and harbor patrols to facilitate the 24-hour operations of the Ghana Ports and Harbor Authority. Particularly, the Special Squadron has increased its training events in and around the port, both exercises around the anchorage and combat medical care and evacuation from ships in the port. The Ghana Navy has significantly reduced maritime crimes, particularly piracy, through robust patrols, targeted escort duties, and the deployment of armed guards aboard vessels. These efforts have kept our sea lines of communication secure, enhancing maritime economic activities. Additionally, the Navy, as part of Operation Carrot, intensified patrols to enforce compliance with the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development's directives on closed fishing season for industrial and semi-industrial trawling vessels. Ghana's position on the lingering Ghana-Togo maritime boundary dispute was given a boost by conducting patrols along the Ghana-Togo maritime border. The deployment of GNS Achimota within the disputed area succeeded in establishing harmony at the eastern border. Moreover, leadership engagement between the two navies as well as operational level harmonization have helped to prevent the escalation of the programs aimed at enhancing capacity of narcotics control personnel. The courses provided foundational military and maritime skills, discipline, basic narcotics interdiction techniques. It further prepared personnel for frontline roles in combating drug trafficking and related transnational crimes. The training further emphasized interagency coordination, intelligence-led operations, and the strategic application of law enforcement tools in disrupting drug trafficking networks. The Ghana Navy, in collaboration with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, facilitated a series of vessel board search and seizure trainings aimed at improving maritime law enforcement and interdiction capabilities. The conduct of these training emphasizes Ghana's foreign policy of good neighborliness and fosters an enabling maritime environment within the Gulf of Guinea. The Ghana Air Force. The Ghana Air Force continues to demonstrate its unwavering commitment to national defense, operational excellence, and regional support. During the first half of the year, Ghana Air Force successfully executed a series of operations and strategic deployments across multiple mission areas, including medevac flights, with its acutely constrained assets across the country. It's like the Ghana Army, the Ghana Air Force, and the Ghana Navy, all three services of the Ghana Armed Forces have many unserviceable assets. Armored personnel, carriers, ships and boats, aircrafts, etc. Very, very unserviceable. We therefore appreciate government's decision to retool the Ghana Armed Forces. Ghana Air Force conducted aerial surveillance missions supporting national security agencies in countering illicit activities along the coastal and border regions in support of Operation Madabiri and Operation Ahojo II. Several reconnaissance missions were conducted along the northern borders of Ghana. Multiple flights were performed for the rotation of troops deployed in Dokochina and Bui in support of Operation Calm Life and Operation Oasis, respectively. Ghana Air Force provided strategic airlift to conduct rotation flights for Ghanaian troops deployed in Gambia on ECOMIC. Additionally, Ghana Air Force actively participated in multi-agency exercises, including Exercise Obangami Express and Exercise Flintlock, enhancing interoperability with sister services and international partners. We are not only planning to strengthen our Air Force, We are enhancing our national defense, protecting our airspace, and upholding our mandate to ensure the safety and security of all Ghanaians. Supporting the fight against illegal mining, Galamsey. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ghana Armed Forces has played significant supporting roles in the fight against illegal mining, Galamsey. We are not out of the woods yet as a nation, but there is hope because there is a political will at the very top. We have reviewed the fight against illegal mining and have worked with stakeholders to reform the fight. The National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, is a product of that review exercise. The recovery of several forest reserves early this year, which our forest guards could not venture, was led by the Ghana Armed Forces. Additionally, the Navy supported land forces in Operation Hall 2 to combat illegal mining along River Ankobra in the western and western north regions. The Navy's riverine operations along the Volta River, like Operation Oasis in Bui, also assisted in reducing the effects of illegal mining on the Black Volta. To strengthen security along Ghana's inland waters and riverine areas, government launched the Blue Water Guard training program in 2025, this year. The Blue Water Guard initiative aims to establish 24-hour monitoring of Ghana's water bodies. It is a strategic intervention to tackle illegal mining activities, protect the environment, and restore Ghana's polluted water resources. The first batch of 453 personnel were trained by the Ghana Navy at the Forward Operating Base at Ezinlimbo. A second batch, made up of 532 personnel, commenced training last month and are scheduled to graduate this week. Guards reflect Ghana Navy's commitment to operationalizing governments of ensuring that all mining activities in Ghana leave a positive footprint and not pollute water bodies. Defense infrastructure, the hardware of stability. President John Dramani Mahama believes true defense capability goes beyond weaponry. It is strengthened by robust infrastructure, resilient systems, and strong institutions. In times of peace, like now, our focus must be, and indeed, is on building the institutions, hospitals, roads, and industries that protect our people and promote their well-being. Today, I'm proud to report that in alignment with the Reset Ghana agenda, military infrastructure is receiving attention and investment, turning Ghana's defense footprint into an engine for national development. I mentioned FOB as a limbo. The forward operating bases, I would say, are mini barracks where you find soldiers residing and taking care of particular strategic locations. So, still in talking about defense infrastructure, the president has directed that all forward operating bases currently under construction along strategic stretches of our northern border from Upper West to Upper East and across the Northeast region be captured under the Big Push program to ensure the speedy completion of the projects. Healthcare for heroes, 37 military hospital and beyond. A nation that honors its defenders must invest in their health. It is important to mention that 37 military hospital, which is the crown jewel of our military health system, and the National Emergency Response Center has seen significant improvement, including the new oxygen compressor systems and diagnostic imaging machines to meet 21st century standards. You recall earlier in this administration when I visited 37 military hospital, and towards the weekend, the pressures had reduced so much that if those compressors had not been secured, procured, and fixed, 37 would have run out of supply of oxygen. And 37 doesn't just supply itself, it also provides oxygen, affordable oxygen for the Ghana Ambulance Service. So just think about what the implications would have been. Also, installation of digital patient monitors, a new cold room for pharmaceutical preservation, and high-grade dental sterilizers. Additionally, the contractual bottleneck, which has stalled the 500-bed Afari Military Hospital project, has finally been resolved through painstaking negotiations, paving the way for the cost-effective completion of the project. Moreover, we are upgrading medical reception stations of the Ghana Armed Forces to bring quality health care closer to all corners of the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I turn to Ghana's defense-driven industrial renaissance, DIHOC. The Defense Industries Holding Company, DIHOC Limited, represents a new era in Ghana's development, positioning the armed forces as key drivers of industrial and economic transformation. Originally envisioned by the late President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory and being revitalized under President John Dramani Mahama, DIHOC now operates with an expanded mandate under the Reset Ghana agenda. I have inaugurated a new, innovative, enterprising and action-oriented governing board chaired by my capable deputy, Ernest Boja Jemfi. I have tasked them to transform talk and plenty prose into action and verifiable outcomes in order to place the Ghana Armed Forces on the path of sustainable financing. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear. DIHOC is laying the foundation for a resilient, industrialized Ghana that can feed itself, empower its people, and thrive in a competitive global landscape. Egypt has successfully done it in North Africa. So can Ghana do it in West Africa. Even before DIHOC unleashes its fullest potential, the Ghana Armed Forces is presently partnering with the Ghana Bauxite Company in a 180-kilometer roadworks on the main Awaso-Takoradi corridor, which serves as the primary road for transporting Ghana's bauxite to the Takoradi port, a port protected by the Ghana Armed Forces. The 180-kilometer stretch is deteriorating due to bauxite haulage. When work commences, this roadworks will once again demonstrate the military's engineering expertise and long-standing commitment to supporting national development. In the coming weeks, details of this partnership will be announced, along with a groundbreaking ceremony marking the commencement of work. If I may add, the Ghana Armed Forces, through the Defense Industries Holding Company, will form strategic partnerships to ensure the accelerated execution of the 6-lane Accra-Kumasi Expressway announced by President Mahama in the Ashanti region last week. Who else can Ghanaians trust to execute road construction day and night within a 24-hour economy, if not the Ghana Armed Forces? Towards food sovereignty, as part of Ghana's commitment to food sovereignty in general, and in the case of the Ministry of Defense's sustainable supply of food for our troops, DIHOC is working towards large-scale commercial farming projects aligned with the Feed Ghana program initiated by the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces and President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. This effort is in close partnership with key national stakeholders, including the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the Office of the President for Special Initiatives, the 24-Hour Economy Secretariat, the National Service Authority, and strategic private sector actors. Outcomes will include a broad range of transformative projects within the poultry sector, in addition to mechanized farming of key staples such as maize, soya, and rice. Let me commend the Chief of Defense Staff for embracing this policy and running with it, because my visit to the Army Recruiting School and within the garrisons have revealed some units preparing in earnest to take up the Nkukonketenkete Challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to enlistment and recruitment. The Ghana Armed Forces must be a force of excellence, integrity, opportunity, and national integration. Unfortunately, this has not always been the case. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share the story of enlistment fraud with the general public. This story shows us that while we fight non-military perpetrators of enlistment and recruitment fraud, we must also pay attention to their few collaborators, and I must say few collaborators within the Ghana Armed Forces. When I assumed office as Minister for Defense, I instituted an inquiry into the enlistment of would-be officers. 452 Ghana military academics were investigated. Sadly, the out of the investigation and audit conducted by the Ghana Armed Forces into enlistment into the Ghana Military Academy for the regular career 64 and 65 and short service course intake 62 revealed that 210 out of 450, 46% did not meet the eligibility test. Career course 64 who are currently in training, the audit pointed to some 34 trainees who sidestepped one or more of the stages of the enlistment processes. Ladies and gentlemen, it was difficult sending them home since they had been in training for almost 1 year, 12 months. Sending 34 well-trained, energetic youth who had endured military training home in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous West African sub-region with free-floating weapons and ammunitions can have severe consequences. So, they have been directed to fulfill all criteria. That's the 34. However, if they fail to meet these requirements, they will be released from training. Regarding adversely affected persons in regular career course 65 and short service course 62 who are yet to report for training, they have since been directed to discontinue their participation in the enlistment process. This means 115 regular and 75 short service personnel have been cleared to report for training in due course to join the RCC 64 intake, who we basically pardoned 34 of them, but still asked them to right the wrongs. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to report at this stage that the last recruitment exercise for soldiers, non-officers, so the soldiers go to the Army recruit training schools and the various training schools, the officers will go to the Ghana Military Academy. So I'm done with the officer career. I'm now moving to the soldiers. It is important to report, let me repeat, at this stage, that the last recruitment exercise for soldiers, non-officers, was conducted in October 2021. However, the audit has revealed that 2,872 Army potential recruits who successfully completed all required processes, including documentation, medical examinations, and vetting, are yet to undergo training. Meanwhile, my visit to the Army Recruits Training School just last week disclosed the fact that the Army Recruit Training School has not been training recruits over the past 17 months. With the potential capacity for the Army Recruits Training School to train between 900 and 1,500 recruits every 6 months, a maximum of 3,000 every year, we wonder why the past administration allowed the situation of the 2,872 Army potential recruits to crystallize. Knowing that even healthy people die during military training, how can we rely on laboratory tests conducted years ago or over 6 months ago to recruit? How can we rely on body selection and fitness tests conducted years ago to inform recruitment decision now? Additionally, with the passage of time, many have exceeded the age limit. Keep in mind that the military is a profession and a vocation that entreats would-be trainees to abandon all hopes of normal life and imposes the doctrine of struggling is acceptable, dropping is acceptable, bleeding is acceptable, tears are acceptable, pain is acceptable, but quitting is unacceptable. This means once you enter, you can struggle, drop, bleed, shed liters of tears, suffer excruciating and unbearable pain, but in all these, quitting will not be entertained. Considering all these significant factors, it has been decided that a new recruitment process will be conducted, a comprehensive enlistment and recruitment exercise is to be undertaken with a view to increasing the manpower strength. Furthermore, the Ministry of Defense seeks to support the Ghana Armed Forces to enhance the capabilities of the recruitment and enlistment portal ahead of the August-September 2025 manpower enhancement drive. The public is therefore advised to avoid fraudsters and scammers who pose as agents of the armed forces to recruit personnel. You engage them at your own risk. Report them to lawful authority. Joining the Ghana Armed Forces under President Mahama will be based solely on merit, not money. We seek to train soldiers who will not be in haste to provide guard duties for unauthorized persons. That era is over. The National Service Emergency Response Readiness Program. In fulfillment of a major promise by President Mahama, the National Service Emergency Response Readiness Program will begin in a few weeks. The basic military and emergency response training is a 6-week orientation training scheduled to run in 2 batches from August to October this year. 10,000 National Service volunteers are expected to kickstart this initiative, with plans to increase the number substantially next year. They are volunteers, it's not compulsory. The areas of training will include basic military orientation, first aid, basic life support, disaster or fire management, nationalism and patriotism, loyalty and discipline, leadership, mentorship, and fiscal training, among others. The core objective of the program is to equip the National Service personnel with the relevant skills in security, disaster preparedness, and public safety. It must be clear, however, that the training program is optional. Ladies and gentlemen, defense diplomacy, regional collaboration, and strategic outlook. In today's interconnected world, national defense can no longer be confined to borders. Security must be both local and global, tactical and diplomatic, responsive and anticipatory. Ghana understands this reality and we are acting on it. Our approach to national security is anchored in a clear doctrine. To be secure at home, we must be engaged abroad. And that is exactly what we are committed to while remaining non-aligned. The Sahel crisis, maritime insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea, arms proliferation, and violent extremism and terrorism do not recognize borders, and so no nation can stand alone. The withdrawal of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from ECOWAS, and the formation of the Alliance of Sahel States further weakens ECOWAS. Evidence suggests that over the past 5 years, there have been several successful coups and counter-coups in West Africa. Mali 2022, Mali 2021, Guinea 2021, Burkina Faso January 2022 and September 2022, and Niger 2023. We live in a volatile sub-region. That is why Ghana has prioritized regional defense cooperation, particularly through ECOWAS and joint military platforms. I must add that our Commander-in-Chief's visit to the Sahel region early this year has been reassuring. In a similar vein, under the leadership of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, and in close coordination with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have deepened bilateral and multilateral military relations while showcasing Ghana's reliability, professionalism, and peace-first posture. Over the past half year, we have hosted high-level defense delegations from the United Kingdom, Brazil, China, Nigeria, the United States of America, France, and Turkey. We have signed new defense cooperation agreements, including intelligence sharing, logistics support, offer exchange programs, and arms control, and participated in strategic African Union and ECOWAS defense forums where Ghana has become a respected voice in shaping regional security frameworks. Leading on the global stage, peacekeeping with honor and excellence. Ghana continues to uphold its legacy as a beacon of international peacekeeping. Our blue helmets serve not just in large numbers, but with unmatched professionalism and honor, and the world has taken notice. Aside from the trailblazing role being played by Major General Anita Asma as UN Force Commander in Syria, Major General Robert Afram is also playing a key role within the UN peacekeeping setup. Let me also add that Squadron Leader Sharon Winswood Sam was recently awarded with the UN Military Gender Advocate of the Year, which further embodies our commitment to inclusivity, protection of vulnerable populations, and gender equity in conflict zones. Squadron Leader Sam, please rise and let us see you. Congratulations once again, Squadron Leader Sam. Good. I spoke about illegal mining. We also have a Lance Corporal who was recently promoted out of 10 by the Chief of Defense Staff in the person of Lance Corporal Tay Chu. Please be upstanding. He resisted bribe from illegal miners, Galamsey operatives. Thank you very much. So, we still have very, very good men and women in our country. The Ghana Armed Forces is saturated with such talents. Ladies and gentlemen, I turn my attention to veterans, honoring our living heroes. Our veterans are the living testimonies of Ghana's bravery, resilience, and sacrifice. They are the men and women who once stood at the front lines at home and abroad so that our children could live in peace and our democracy could endure. And today, we must ensure that their service is never forgotten, their voices never silenced, and their dignity never compromised. We believe while we rightly celebrate our veterans' heroism, on various remembrance days, our gratitude must go beyond ceremony. Our gratitude must be seen in action and sustained through policy. To achieve this noble goal, we have launched a robust effort to uplift the welfare of veterans under the umbrella of the Veterans Administration, Ghana, VAG. Pay attention to the comma. 1. A new vibrant governing board has been inaugurated to oversee the administration of veterans. 2. Aggressive recovery of veterans' funds, lands, and assets is ongoing. 3. Veterans will also be prime beneficiaries of the Mahama Cares Health Financing Initiative that seeks to finance diabetes, hypertension, stroke, cancers, and kidney disease care. Equitable share. And if the serving officers on the board resist, to forget our veterans. Veterans are not relics of the past. They are pillars of our present and custodians of our history. The challenges we are confronting. Let me first acknowledge with candor the Ministry of Defense, like all critical institutions of state, inherited substantial constraints in January 2025, some of which continue to test our resolve daily. We inherited a staggering institutional debt burden of over 3.7 billion Ghana cedis. Debt that was recently uncovered by the current military high command of over 32 million US dollars, owed by the Ghana Armed Forces. These legacy debts continue to constrain our ability to invest adequately in critical defense priorities and warfare infrastructure. Alongside this, we are Armed Forces by 12,000 over the next 3.5 years. Strategic partnerships, strengthening bilateral and multilateral alliances, defense industrialization, enhancing local production through DHOC, Reset Ghana agenda, aligning defense strategy with national development goals, security challenges, addressing threats, chieftaincy, galamsey, violent extremism with foresight and readiness, climate security, preparing for floods, droughts, and food security, gender inclusion, promoting diversity and inclusion in the armed forces, veterans welfare, ensuring the well-being of veterans, Mahama Cares, more health facilities, and additional funding from DHOC. 14, national service, training 10,000 youth in disaster preparedness and patriotism. Last but not least, 15, unity and progress, emphasizing collective responsibility and unity for Ghana's progress. Ladies and gentlemen, as we stand at the threshold of a new era, the Mahama Second Coming, and resetting Ghana, let us remember that our strength lies in not just our arms, but in our unity, our resilience, and our unwavering commitment to Ghana's progress. Today, we have outlined a vision for a modernized, industrialized, and inclusive defense sector that serves as a beacon of hope and stability in our region. Let us march forward together with the Ghana Armed Forces as our guardians of peace and architects of prosperity. Let us uphold the sacred covenant to protect every Ghanaian and propel our nation towards a safer, stronger, and more prosperous future. As we close this chapter and embark on the next, let us recognize that defense goes beyond the boots, barracks, and borders, because defense affects everything. Security is the seedbed of progress. Let our guiding principles be one Ghana, one destiny. May God bless our beloved homeland, Ghana. Thank you.
All right. To be secure at home, we must engage abroad. That is one of many memorable quotes in the minister's delivery. I could not help but notice the linguistic dexterity that the defense minister exhibited at the introduction of his presentation. I mean, he introduced his men and women present here in language that was of Shakespearean proportions. And I believe that it set the right tone for this engagement. At this juncture, I would invite members of the media present to pose any questions they have for the defense minister. I must indicate that we are hard pressed for time, so we must limit the questions to one each and avoid lengthy preambles. Introduce yourself, the media organization you work for, and then shoot at the minister. With your mouth, I must indicate.
Okay. All right, Minister Abdul Hanan Adam, EIB Network. Minister, my question has to do with the presidential jet. We understand, or per reports, it's been grounded. Are there any plans for the country to purchase a new presidential jet? And currently, the president is using a different one. Does it come with a cost to the Ghanaian taxpayer? Minister, my second question has to do with the whole airport, and my colleague Eko Boakye in the GH1 newsroom wants me to ask you, the president during the campaign preferred to use the whole airport to be transformed into an aviation academy. He wants to know if there are any plans for the Ghana Armed Forces to take up the place to supplement the activities in Accra and Takoradi. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Shadrach Kodamejare, Metro TV. I want to ask, like the minister ending his speech mentioned that defense is not only about the barracks and then the boots. I want to ask if the likes of, or things like defense tourism has come to his desk, because at least the likes of Exercise Sea Lion has shown us we can get closer to the military, understand their works, and also explore places like the equator and other areas. Are we looking at defense tourism? And secondly, has to do with the military and then Galamsey fight. Before this government came in power, we had some military officers saying if the people at the top allow us, we can stop it in 48 hours. How much trust should the Ghanaian put into his administration and his people to ensure that we see the effectiveness of the military in our forest reserves and our water bodies? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. My name is Mark Solak. I work with Joy FM and Enjoy News. The Minister, I think, hit the nail right on the head that we live in a very volatile, sub-region. The most tourism-affected country is not 2 continents away. No, it's our next door neighbor, Burkina Faso. And some years ago, in the recent times, we've had security analysts raising the red flags and saying that we're likely to have a spillover of the terror threats into West African coastal, states. Now, with the recent geopolitical shifts in West Africa and then also in the Sahel region, it's likely to affect the terror fight greatly. I want to find out from the minister, what is Ghana's contingency plan, especially now when it seems the Sahelian countries are losing momentum when it comes to the Accra Initiative, which is supposed to help with the collaboration to help in the fight against terror. My second question has to do with military.
Void of the lengthy preamble of the first.
No. No preambles for the second question. The second one has to do with military brutalities. Now, in 2023, we had a Shaman military brutality. It happened. I know that the Defense and Interior Committee released their report and recommended the prosecution of the officers involved. We've not seen any action regarding that. In January 2025, we had the killing of some persons described as illegal miners who tried to breach the fence, the security fence of a mine in the Ashanti region. I want to know what the status of that investigation is. And then maybe the third.
No, no third question, please.
Okay.
No. Yes.
Komla Kluche. Komla Kluche, I work at Media General. Can we get some more details on the missing ammunitions you said that were moved from the armory of the Ghana Armed Forces, which has not been accounted for? This appears to pose a national security threat. We need some more clarity on that. And if you may, there's been suggestions, most especially on social media, that journalist Kevin Taylor is in the country and being housed and protected in a state facility. Can you speak to this?
All right.
My name is Peloleno from Class Media Group. My first question is, when the minister was talking, he spoke about the 3 months volunteers for the national service personnel who will be trained under the military. In the military. And also, secondly, there has been a call on social media that for the fight of Galamsey, that the military or those fighting Galamsey should adopt the shoot-to-kill method. Is the ministry or the Ghana Armed Forces considering this suggestion? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Some of the questions are linked, so I'll pick them as we move along. Let me start with the National Service training. We expect that within 6 weeks, the training should be over. And I must, even though it's voluntary, I must encourage as many National Service personnel as possible to participate. Why do I say so? Welcome. Why do I say so? Basic life support. There are many people who suffer avoidable deaths. if there was somebody who is skilled in providing basic life support, the person could have been saved. Understand? Just clearing the airway. If there is something choking the person, you clear it from there and all that. But unfortunately, our curriculum doesn't emphasize that in our schools. This is something that we need to take up and emphasize in our schools. So all the opportunities that you missed, from primary school all the way to the university, the opportunity is here under President Mahama for you to fill in the gap. 6 weeks and you are done. So we expect that as many of them as possible will take advantage of it. The question about their fate, that is those who would want to join the Ghana Armed Forces. I stood here and said recruitment, enlistments are going to be based on merit. That is what it is. So whatever question that comes to mind, frame it around merit-based recruitment and enlistment, and you have an answer. What do I mean? Can you imagine two people who have completed their national service? One participated in a 6-week training with the Ghana Armed Forces. The other did not. And then you decide, both of you decide that you would want to enlist. Who is more likely to be able to endure the few kilometers that you may have to run to prove yourself as fit to those who are enlisting? Most likely is going to be the one who participated in that training, because fitness test is part of it. By even associating with them for 6 weeks, it will diminish significantly even the kind of maybe fear or anxiety that you have when you encounter the uniform. So that is an advantage that they shouldn't miss. Even if you don't want to join the Ghana Armed Forces, for the sake of your family, for the sake of your friends, for the sake of your church members, because people sometimes collapse at church. And then announcement is made, we need a doctor. But basic life support, everybody can be trained to offer that kind of assistance to someone who is suffering. Then I moved to the whole airport and aircraft acquisition, all these put together. I must say that the whole airport is even over and above what the Air Force alone wants to do, because there is a private sector player who is also very, very much interested. So that is also being looked at seriously. Not just that, also, Afina, too, I have a request on my letter where another entity has also written to seek some level of collaboration with the Ghana Air Force. I met them last week, Friday, and then there's a third one about even the use of Air Force hangars and other facilities. And so when we talk about the Defense Industries Holding Company, these are some of the things that we are looking at. To leverage the assets of the Ghana Armed Forces, bring in the private sector so that together we can form a consortium of the willing to ensure that we optimize the use of these assets of the Ghana Air Force, which belongs to the state, and whatever dividends that will accrue to the Ghana Air Force, remember, it will in a way also reduce a bit of the capital injection that a central government makes in the long run. Yes, aircraft and acquisition and all. As I said, the three services, Army, Navy, Air Force, all have very, very constrained assets.